F124 Driver Career Mode for Season 3, Round number 3, the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix back at Imola. We start this race weekend with a secret meeting. This time it's with Mercedes. However, this is certainly going to be my last season of F124 Career Mode. There's no way I'm going to struggle to even finish this season before F125 comes out. I don't know if I will. We'll see how that goes. So there's no point trying to do any secret meetings. We might as well, keep our loyalty to McLaren, so that we can try and get the recognition percentage up this season to give ourselves some more upgrades. Speaking of upgrades, we're going to put a couple more on the car going into the next couple of race weekends. Balancing out the field will mean that Aston Martin will remove an upgrade going into this race. We were very close to being the top team actually going into this race weekend, but actually before I went through to this point, we were actually at the top, but Aston Martin must have just overtaken us before. So you can see there, Aston Martin are now just below us once again. So we at McLaren do have the quickest car on paper now. Mercedes have taken quite the leap right there with Ferrari now as well. But yeah, it's difficult to know who's where with this sort of thing, because I mean, Ferrari have been doing an incredible job, especially with Charles Leclerc, but they supposedly don't have, they have like the 4th quickest car on paper, almost the 5th now. But yeah, we know how good Leclerc is. Q1 here, and my first flying lap didn't go particularly well. I had a little bit of an off, so we're currently sitting P20 even after I have had one run, but we managed to have a better run this time, although big wiggle through there. It was actually through there that I had a little bit of a moment on my first lap. But yeah, Imola, like this track, fun track to drive. I've always quite enjoyed it. Relatively decent track to overtake on. There's only really 1 or 2 overtaking opportunities, but yeah, it's a decent track. We end up only P11 actually, so it's not a great lap time for me there, but it's enough to get through. Both Audis, of course, they're Audi, not Sauber. I just haven't been able to change the name. Out in Q1, both Alpines and Magnussen in the Haas also out in Q1. Bit of a disappointment for Magnussen there, but that kind of bottom of the field is just as close to each other as the top field is to each other. As you see now, rain is starting to come down here in Q2. There are drops on the visor, drops coming down on the track. Still on dry tyres at the moment, but yeah, the rain was basically starting to come down from the very start of this session, so I've gotten out as early as I can. Not quite as early as I hoped. There are other cars doing laps before me here, which I think did have a bit of an impact, because as I cross the line here, I'm the slowest of everybody that's gone so far, but I think that was just because of, the track getting wetter and wetter, so the sooner you cross the line, the better you did. That actually meant that Max Verstappen, mainly, is out in Q2. He does not get through to Q3. Also Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. That's less of a surprise than Max Verstappen. I mean, Verstappen P11, not in Q3. That is big. And as we get here into Q3, it is now very much wet. Now, I took the car out straight away here, did a few changes. I don't usually do that many changes in wet sessions, but it seems to, I never seem to do that well, when I've gone for a dry setup, because the race is supposed to be completely dry, just this little bit of rain in qualifying. So I went for a dry setup. I always seem to have a bit of an issue when I do this though, because the AI just, I don't know what it is, they change their setup a little bit, or they just generally are better at driving in these conditions. That's probably the case. But as you can see in the top left there, everybody else seems to be on the wet tyres. I've taken a bit of a gamble, gone onto the inters, and I have also, like I said, I've changed the front wing angle. Usually that's all I really do in these situations, because you can only change a certain amount of things when you're in Parc Ferme. I usually only do the front wing, and that's all I do. But I have actually also lowered the tyre pressures all the way down as well. And I believe I've changed the brake bias a bit more front forward as well, because I find that if you have it where you would usually have it, the rear wheels kind of lock up quite a lot. So I've done that, and I think that's helping here, because it actually does not feel too bad driving around here at the moment. And I'm on the inters, everybody else on the wets. Is that the right option? Well, we cross the line, we go quickest, and we do go quickest in Q3 and get our first pole position of the season. Just 2/10 ahead of George Russell in second, so it looks like it was really on the brink of whether the inters or the wets were quicker. We've just about managed to get pole position That is big for us. Sergio Perez down in P5. What is in store for us for this Emilia Romagna Grand Prix? Well, it's time to find out.
Welcome once again to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari. The clue's in the name. This is very much Ferrari home turf, and the locals will be out in force today to support their team in what we hope will be a magnificent spectacle of motorsport. On then to the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. One lap of Imola, anti-clockwise of course, unlike most Formula One circuits, will take our drivers round 3.1 miles of track. 19 turns, 9 right-handers and 10 to the left. Drivers will need to be precise at the hairpin at turn 7, given the subsequent uphill section. Without a good exit from that corner, they'll lose a lot of time on that stretch. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Shaw lines up on pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Perez, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Hülkenberg, Verstappen, Sainz, Russell, Behrman, Norris, Stroll, Albon, Ocon, Magnussen, Vesti, Joe, and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway.
A lot of grid penalties mean that it is Charles Leclerc alongside us on the front row of the grid. Let's see how that goes. We know how good Leclerc is in that Ferrari. As we get underway, Leclerc has had an absolutely blinding start. He has flown past us into, well, not even into turn 1. He's already well ahead of us as we try and maybe sneak a move around the outside through turn 1, but we're not able to do that. And Leclerc, he's rocketing off up the road. He had the best starts I think I've ever seen an AI have, and that really annoyed me because it's like we finally on pole position when we didn't really seem to have the pace. Just got lucky and I guess had the right set of tyres on in quali there, but yeah, just what's a start for Leclerc. So I'm a little bit annoyed now. I mean, to be fair, this is a track that you don't always expect to lead out of, into turn 1 anyway, because it is such a long run down into turn 1. So I think it's just very unfortunate, but you can see now already, Leclerc's already a second ahead of us. We're keeping Perez behind. He's about 8 tenths, 9 tenths behind now, actually, as he's fighting with the cars behind me. He managed to get past Hamilton and Alonso, I believe, at the start, so one of the two, whichever one was in third before me. And yeah, I'm just really hustling the car now, just out of a little bit of anger, to be honest, because I'm just annoyed that we weren't able to keep the lead, at least into turn 1. Like, that has really annoyed me, and Leclerc's already a second ahead of us, and yeah, he's just going to pull that gap even further. As we now have a look at Max Verstappen, of course, did not get through into Q3, but ended up starting 9th, thanks to the grid penalties ahead of him. Well, he's already passed. He already got past Hülkenberg and is now also ahead of Yuki Tsunoda and is already on lap number 3 up into P7. So Verstappen making early moves in this race. On to lap number 4, and we're losing out a little bit to Leclerc. He's not absolutely pulling away from us now. He absolutely went crazy on lap number 1. Slowed it down a little bit after that, but there are points. He's definitely quicker than me throughout a lap here. However, there are points through here. If I really get the corner right, like I did there, actually gained a couple of tenths through that chicane, there are points where I can get closer to him, but ultimately we have the pressure from behind, and it is from my teammate Sergio Perez, who has been on a bit of a roll this season. Of course, won last time out in Saudi Arabia, and he has gotten past us there. We weren't going to fight that. We're going to let Perez through into P2. As Hülkenberg and Tsunoda are now about to have a little bit of a battle here for P8. Will be some good points for both of these teams here, as Hülkenberg is the one that gets the position up into P8 in the Haas. That would be some good points for the Haas team. As lap number 7 now, we are still behind Perez, but now have a little bit more of a chance to go for a move. We're actually going to dive up the inside into turn 1, or maybe it's turn 2, because there's a little bit of a kink, isn't there, on the straight. But we get back up into P2, and I'm just going to try and hold this position now. As Once again, Sonoda and Hulkenberg, this battle continues. Not a whole lot else happening here, but Sonoda now back up ahead of Hulkenberg to P8. So a nice little battle going on between these two drivers. Sainz is just behind these guys as well, and he is actually going to pull out to the outside of Hulkenberg into turn 1. He's going to try and go round the outside of Sonoda as well, and he gets 2 positions in 1 corner. What a move for Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. That's now put him up into P8. That was a very good move for him. Lap 10, and yeah, we are losing time to Sainz here, and we're actually struggling now. My rear tyres are rather cooked, although my engineer is telling me that there's no tyre concerns. The rear tyres are very slidey. Like, I'm really throwing the car around these corners. We're struggling. I'm going to come in, I think, a lap earlier than I originally expected. So we're going to see if we can get maybe an undercut here. It's going to be a bit of a push to get an undercut on Leclerc, but let's see what we can do on the cars around us. But unfortunately, the rear right is very slow going on, and it means we have, I believe it was a 4.8 second pit stop. So that's a good just over 2 seconds longer than we would have hoped. So we're down right at the back of the pack, which was to be expected. But yeah, not a good pit stop, not a good pit stop at all. And although now we're probably going to have a couple of laps before other drivers come in, that's really not helped us. However, thankfully for us, we have managed to still stay ahead of Hamilton, Alonso, and I believe Perez as well. Not sure he's pitted yet, but when he pits next lap, we will also be ahead of him. So in that regard, it has worked. Leclerc is ahead though. But the big interesting thing here, lap number 16, halfway through the race exactly, it's an Alpine 1-2 now, because these two guys are the only two to start on the hard compound tyres. So they haven't pitted yet. So it's Ocon from Vesti in 2nd place. If there was like a safety car or something now, Alpine would be laughing. This would be a mega result. So they're going to try and eke it out a little bit longer on these hard compound tyres. Come lap number 17, and there's a yellow flag up ahead. That could be one of the Alpines, or it could be Charles Leclerc. There's a red dot on the minimap there. It's Charles Leclerc. Leclerc has got an engine failure. It goes up in smoke, and the championship leader and the effective race leader is out of this Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. That has given us a big moment here to potentially go on and win this race. We are actually slightly pulling away from Hamilton behind, so we could now be in a position to win this Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. But as we come into this next chicane, oh my god, how does that happen on the exact same lap as Charles Leclerc? I cannot believe it. We also have a mechanical failure, and we are out, and now the safety car's out. That could play massively into the Alpine's hands. They're going to come into the pits this lap. What could this mean for them? This could be massive for Alpine in this championship and in this race. But we're out. We're out of the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. I cannot believe that happened. That is the unluckiest thing that has ever happened to me, I think.
It's another victory and a champion's performance from Max Verstappen.
They had to be decisive with their overtaking today as they worked their way through the field. And those kind of race victories are so enjoyable because it's not just like winning from the front. They really had to work for it today.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They've performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everybody at the team.
Well, it's a win for Max Verstappen. First win of the season for him and for Red Bull Ford. Ford win their first race as the engine supplier for Red Bull. Sergio Perez has come home P2, so another great result for my teammate. And I believe it was Fernando Alonso, P3 in the Aston Martin, picking up, I think, his first podium of the season as well. But I cannot believe that. This has been a roller coaster of emotions, this race. We went from getting pole position out of nowhere to losing the lead off the start, not having a chance at catching Leclerc, to him, to then having a pit stop issue. Leclerc has a mechanical failure, and then we have a mechanical failure. I cannot believe it, but Max Verstappen, what a win for him from P9 on the grid to win the race. Crazy stuff going on there. The two Alpines. Vesti comes home in 6th. Ocon comes home 7th. What a result for Alpine. That is big points for them. That's, 14 points for Alpine. That is really big for them. Don't know why it's saying that Vessi's had 0 stops. He definitely did have a pit stop, but just a bit of a glitch there, I think. But that has completely thrown around the championship. Verstappen now leads the championship by 4 points to Perez still in second. Leclerc is now third, so Verstappen and Leclerc have switched around. We've gone from 4th to 6th position now behind both Aston Martins. If we won that race with Leclerc DNFing, we would have probably been leading the championship, but instead we DNF and are now 2 positions lower than we started. But in the Constructors, it's not all bad because McLaren are now leading the Constructors as Ferrari scored no points and dropped to 4th from 1st to 4th. Red Bull are now second out of nowhere, joined on points with Aston Martin, and then Alpine shoot up to 6th position with 14 points, now ahead of Williams. But anyway, that is going to be it for this crazy video, this crazy race. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.